What's going on, everybody? We're back with another cost of living video, but today we're going to be talking about some unexpected costs or just some things you may not think about before you move to Fort Lauderdale. Welcome to Living Fort Lauderdale, where we make videos weekly about what it's like to move to or live in the Fort Lauderdale area. So if that's what you're looking for, make sure to subscribe. And I am a licensed realtor here in Florida, so yes, I love making these videos, but I love even more to help you with your real estate needs. Whether it's buying or selling, my number and email are popping up on the screen. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'd love to hear from you. But with that being said, let's talk about it. Let's talk about some unexpected things that you may not really think about before moving to Fort Lauderdale. And I did an overall general cost of living video a couple months ago, which I'm going to link right up here. But diving right into this one, I want to start off with insurance, and I'm going to break it up into three different categories. So the first one, we're going to talk about flood insurance. And due to some recent events of what just happened out here with the flooding, this may have a lot of you rethinking your entire move to the Fort Lauderdale area. But I just want to put your mind at ease a little bit and let you know that not all areas in Fort Lauderdale will require flood insurance. Now, there's different types of flood zones. I'm not going to get into the details of all of them because at the end of the day, it really is property specific or also neighborhood specific. So I'm just going to pop up the flood zones on the map just so you can see that not all of them do require flood insurance, like the one at the very bottom. And this is something that's not going to be included with your homeowner's insurance policy. This is something that you will have to get separate, either through a private company or through FEMA, but it will be factored into your mortgage cost. And in doing some research online, just to kind of get some average numbers, it does say that the average cost of flood insurance for the state of Florida is about $655 a year. I would take that number with a grain of salt, only because it's really going to just depend on what flood zone you're in. And I mean, I have clients in the last couple months, last year, that have had to get flood insurance on their property, but they're not necessarily in an area that floods a lot, and they're paying like $2,000 a year. Some are paying a little bit under, some were even paying a little bit more than that. So take that $655 number with a grain of salt, and just know that I do have clients who are, for the average, I would say we're paying right around $2,000 a year. Now, maybe the flood insurance doesn't even bother you, but if this storm had never happened, it may not have even been something that crossed your mind. And it's just something to always consider and to always remember, because Fort Lauderdale is at a moderate risk for flooding. It just is what it is. We are at sea level and we are pretty much surrounded by water. So just when it comes to moving down here, just make sure to, when you're looking at homes, to just do your research and actually take notice of which homes were in a flood zone. Whereas, like I mentioned, if this whole storm never happened, it may not have even been a concern in your mind. So moving on from flood insurance, the next thing I want to talk about is homeowners insurance. So this also is going to be factored in to your monthly mortgage cost, and it's just been getting crazy out here. So the homeowners insurance premiums have been going up just due to the demand of people moving down here. Carriers have been dropping clients or not insuring new clients for things like having an old roof. So I actually have a client right now who's getting ready to move out of state. We're getting ready to put his house on the market, and he got a letter from his insurance carrier that when his term period was up, that they weren't going to renew him, and it's because his roof was over 15 years old. Now, just because your roof's over 15 years old does not mean your roof's in bad shape, because I've had clients with original roofs, 25 years on a home, that it was perfectly fine. But a lot of these insurance carriers won't insure you if your roof is over 15 years. So not only is the higher premium maybe an unexpected cost, but if you're looking at buying a home with a roof that's over 15 years older, you may have to replace it just to even get insurance. Now, that's something that could be negotiated during the inspection period with the seller, but it's also just something to think about. And if I didn't mention it already, that's also going to be factored into your mortgage payment, so that's just going to make the payment get a little bit higher. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is going to be car insurance. So Florida has the highest car insurance averages in the country. Me personally, my insurance did not go up when I moved down here. I don't know if I had like some weird type of policy when I was up in Jersey, but my insurance did not go up. However, I do know plenty of people who their insurance went up substantially. For example, I've had clients up in Jersey who had NJM, which is a really low-cost insurance company up there, and they were paying $80 to $90 a month for their car insurance. And as soon as they moved down to Florida, it went up to $200, $225, even $250 a month. I've heard it from, places, other states, people in other states say the same thing. I just can't tell you that personally happened to me. Florida has the highest car insurance just due to the amount of claims, accident claims, which is really due to the bad drivers, which, I'm not scared to talk about how bad the drivers are down here, but I mean, it makes sense, right? That's why the insurance is so high, because of the amount of claims, because of the amount of accidents. Well, you only have a lot of accidents when you have a lot of bad drivers, so that's just something else to think about, and that kind of wraps up the insurance portion. All right, so next thing I want to talk about is going to be HOA fees. And I bring this up because a lot of you that reach out to me, you're from the Northeast, from these older areas where you're not really living in a homeowners association. Unless you're coming from like a high-rise condo building or a townhome community, you're probably not living in an HOA if you're in like New York or New Jersey. And out here, especially out in the suburbs, that's a majority of what you're going to find is HOA communities, and then you will still find some in Fort Lauderdale, not nearly as many, but if you're on the beach, in a high-rise condo or any type of condo or townhome community, you will find HOAs. And these costs really range anywhere from $100 a month, anywhere up to like $2,000 a month if you're in an oceanfront condo. And this, much like your insurance, is going to get factored into your monthly mortgage payment. So this is just something else to think about that's going to make that monthly payment go up. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about, and I didn't really even think too much about this one when I first moved out here, and honestly, it just hit me like not too long ago that this could be something that's kind of unexpected, and that's highway tolls. And yes, we do have like I-95 and 595, which are free highways, but that pretty much only runs through the cities, and a portion of the suburbs for 595. But if you're living in the suburbs, a majority of what you're going to have is going to be toll roads. And so actually, when I first moved out here, I was living up in Palm Beach County. The landscape was very similar to down here, whereas when the further west you go, the more suburban it gets, and we had the Florida Turnpike up there. So that was pretty much the highway that I took everywhere. And let me just tell you, it adds up, especially if you're taking that highway to go to work every day. I mean, you figure even if it's just $6 a day, 5 days a week, you do the math, figure out how much it is monthly and yearly, but that stuff does add up. And you can get around, of course, taking back roads out here, but the traffic backs up so much on the back roads, and on these toll roads, you don't tend to see as much traffic just due to the fact that it costs money. So yes, you do have options other than the toll roads, but I already know how it is. When you have that option, you'll just pay it. Maybe until you get that first bill, or you just see how much you're really spending. But of course, it just depends on how much you actually use it. So the next thing I want to talk about is parking. And this isn't really going to affect everybody. This is going to be mainly for people who maybe work in downtown Fort Lauderdale, or maybe you visit these beach towns a lot or live in the beach towns. Starting with downtown Fort Lauderdale, I mean, it's not like New York City. It's not like where you can go and find free street parking if you're lucky. That doesn't exist down there. So everything is either by a meter or in a garage by the hour. So there's no free street parking. And, if you're working down there, it's going to cost you money, whether you're paying monthly for a garage spot or you're paying hourly at a meter. it can cost a lot. I was working downtown for a little bit, and I would only stay down there for about 4 hours a day, and it was $3 an hour to park. So you can see how that'll add up after some time. So I kind of had to cut it back, started working from home a little bit more, that's just something to think about. And then you have these beach towns, same thing. So you pretty much have to park anywhere in these beach towns, whether it's street parking to go to the beach, parking lots to go to the beach, and even sometimes you just see, even like the strip malls, they're metered parking. So it's not everywhere in the Fort Lauderdale area. Like I said, it's mainly just in like the downtown area and in like these beach areas, and obviously like some of the touristy areas. And so the last thing I want to leave you with is my number and email popping up right here. Feel free to reach out if you have any more questions about what we just spoke about or about moving down here in general. I'd love to have a conversation with you and help you any way that I can. So enjoy your week and weekend, and we'll catch you on the next one.